Mr. President, Excellencies, climate change has emerged as a significant issue for small island developing states, as its impacts threaten to undermine all efforts to pursue sustainable development agendas and to realize global developmental targets such as the Millennium Development Goals. In light of this, then, the continued increase in greenhouse gas emissions beyond 2015 is clearly untenable, and Earth temperature increases of some 2% relative to pre-industrial levels destructive. As a small developing state continuously battered by the vagaries of hurricanes that repeatedly undermine its developmental gains, St. Kitts and Nevis uses this medium to join once again in registering deepest concerns regarding the slow pace at which the global community is moving to address this issue. While sessions such as this year's summit on climate change are important, permitting as they do the articulation of the perspectives and recommendations of nations of all socioeconomic and geographic profiles, it is essential that they are seen as a means to an end and not an end in themselves. In the past, the Alliance of Small Island States has made a compelling case as to the importance of dedicated, measurable progress in controlling global temperature and carbon dioxide concentrations. However, global warming and its attendant rise in sea levels are phenomena that pose grave and possibly irreversible dangers, not only for the small island nations like mine, but indeed for all low-lying coastal areas, of which there are many in some of the largest and most heavily industrialized non-island states. Countries such as mine are not responsible for this crisis. Nonetheless, as a matter of principle, we are doing our part to reverse these troubling global trajectories. Our forests, comprising some 20% of our landmass, have now been dedicated and declared protected areas. And in my country, our forests absorb more carbon dioxide than we produce. In addition, we are now actively involved in the aggressive development of geothermal and wind energy capabilities on our islands, again, as a matter of principle to do our part. In addition, throughout the wider Caribbean region, governments have been giving this crisis the attention it deserves. I point here to the Caribbean Planning for Adaptation to Climate Change project, the Mainstreaming Adaptation to Climate Change project, and the Caribbean Community Climate Change Center, which has been fully operational since 2004, the mandate of which is to provide a strategic approach to long-term action. With sea levels continuing to rise around St. Kitts and Nevis, it urges a 45% reduction in carbon dioxide emissions by 2020 relative to 1990, and a 90% reduction by the year 2050. In its recent summit, some of the major G8 emitters expressed their commitment to intensify climate change-related efforts. We now urge swift, effective, and principled action. St. Kitts and Nevis joins our small island partners in the call for an urgent and rapid response to the transfer of technology, robust funding for adaptation and capacity building, and most importantly, a discussion and definitive conclusion on how we can achieve a stabilization of carbon dioxide in the Earth's atmosphere at 350 parts per million and an increase of below 1.5 degrees centigrade. We are therefore urging the major emitters of greenhouse gases to make rapid reductions in their greenhouse gas emissions. We reiterate our request for financial and technical support for capacity building and technology transfer in all SIDS and low-lying countries to be able to more effectively confront the challenges of climate change. It is my hope that this year we shall succeed in arriving at an effective plan to overcome this climate change challenge. I fear that if we continue to squander our resources, we are reluctant to reverse our behavior patterns towards the environment. We will irreparably damage our planet. Let us together strive to pool our efforts and resources to combat this threat to our countries and our peoples. Let us together unite and with concerted action contribute to a safer, cleaner earth for our children and their children's children. Countries like mine have played no part in the creation of this crisis. Nonetheless, it is we who have been made to bear a disproportionate share of the global ecological burden. This simply is not right. Adaptation strategies, capacity building, and the development and/or acquisition of pertinent technologies are for us pressing and costly priorities. It is only just and fair, therefore, that countries which, though never intending to, nonetheless did trigger this global crisis in the process of advancing their own economic growth, now step forward to meet the cost of the aforementioned adaptation strategies, capacity building, and technologies in countries like mine. We meet again in December, this time in Copenhagen. I urge, however, that we act today as though we have neither December nor Copenhagen. There is too much at stake for procrastination. There is too much at stake for equivocation. Let us understand the dangers inherent in this moment, and let us act accordingly.